Hey everyone, this is Kieran from Eccentric Physio, and today we're looking at how to further build some side flexion capacity into the thoracic spine. We're going to be in a little bit more of an upright position for these exercises, so if you feel like the ground-based stuff is ready to be moved on from, then these will be the kind of exercises that you want to start looking at. When we're talking about something like side flexion, as we've talked about in other videos, we're talking about movement in the frontal plane. And frontal plane movement is this movement that happens sideways, this way. It can also be resisting that movement, and that's something that happens when we start to go through what we call mid-stance of gait. When we hit the ground, we have to move into frontal plane to shock absorb a little bit, and then we start to move out of it a little bit, and then try to transition and create a movement this way. So it's like we go from one side and we rock over to the other. But we have to be somewhat stable in the middle. We have to be able to get through this rocky point where there's a lot of control needing to happen. And so what we're talking about is it's the difference of, so being able to land, go into some glutes and some other side flexion stuff. You're controlling as well as allowing motion in this plane, so there's a bit of a joint effort from different areas of the body. And then as I move through and start to come up into here, into mid-stance, I then have to be stable enough to push forward into this direction. And so some people might have a lot of difficulty being just here. Now you might have figured out some strategies to make this area doable for you, but if you're doing things like dropping your hip or swaying back and forth like this, or just basically having difficulty staying nice and tall, particularly also staying nice and wide, then we need to regress things. We need to remove some of the challenge. And we know that we can do that by bringing more contact onto the ground. So now I have 2 points of contact. I've got my leg here and I've got my knee here. What I want you to think about is just being as tall as you can, nice and tall, and as wide as you can at the same time. Can I breathe in this position? Are my ribs down a little bit? Am I flaring my ribs out like this? I'm flaring my ribs out, now I'm extending down into my lower back primarily, and a little bit up into the sort of lower part of the thoracic. But I want to pull those ribs down a bit so that I'm able to then extend and lengthen in this tall position. If I just extend here, I can't really lengthen up this way. I have to be able to pull my ribs down so I can get tall. What that's going to do is it's going to set the muscles up into a position through your mid-back on the other side to be able to resist this sideways movement. It's also going to set your ribs up nicely so that your QL can start supporting your pelvis and a bit more of the frontal plane. So if you can be here, tall, wide, and still breathe, ribs are down, and you're not losing your balance, you're feeling pretty comfortable, what you can start to do is lift off this leg to add a little bit of challenge. Now there's more than just happening at the thoracic spine here. There's also things happening at the hip, which enable me to not fall over. And I'm just trying to create movement here while this stays reasonably still, or I'm at least trying to resist, right? Now, if you find that's too hard, we can bring a weight that is assistive. So I've got 12 kilos here. If I hold that there, it's going to make me centrate more over this femur, and it's going to make me have to stabilize a little bit more through this side of my pelvis. And so that makes things a little bit easier for me. Now you might find that that makes it harder. Try the other side. It might be a different set of muscles that are struggling to reactively stabilize you. So if we kick in over here and we start resisting there. And what I've had to do to counter that weight is I've had to shift more this way. So it didn't really assist, it made me change the movement. I'm trying to keep the same movement and have something be assistive. So the actual challenge here for me would be to start reducing the weight of this until I get into body weight, and then eventually I might add in going into a lunge, okay? So simple exercise, but particularly useful for starting to build that frontal plane control. If it feels too easy for you, then start moving into a lunge or start taking the foot off and holding it off instead of up, down, up, down. But once you feel like you've got some balance there and you can still breathe and multitask, then move into lunges and other one-footed exercises like our single leg balance here. If you like this video, then please hit like below. Otherwise, to check out more of our content in the future, you can subscribe to our channel by clicking our logo over here And to check out our latest video, click up here.